myself, but hello everyone. I'm Jim Sporer from IBM, and it was great to have my colleague Robert Morris as the first keynote. I think you probably were all in there and heard his presentation, so I'm going to reiterate just a little bit of what he said. This is a session to get you acquainted with ISSIP, which is the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals. And I have several of my colleagues here who are going to do most of the talking once I introduce this session with just a couple of slides. But before we start, any just orientation things I can help anybody with? So I'll introduce each of my colleagues when they present, but I just want to give you a heads up that Yasi is the Executive Director of ISSIP, and Yuriko is our ambassador to, we have ambassadors in ISSIP, Serviceology in Japan, so Yuriko is our ambassador. So rather than chapters, if there's a service-oriented professional association already in a country, we'll create an ambassador relationship. Thank you, Yuriko, for being our ambassador to Japan. And Lou Freund is also one of the key people in ISSIP, and Lou actually helped us get ISSIP started, played a very, very fundamental role there. Lou is a professor at San Jose State University here, and Lou is working on a very special key project for ISSIP, because one of the things that we want to do is figure out how to measure the T-shapedness, how much depth and breadth professionals have, and help professionals develop that. And so Lou's been really the pioneer driving that for ISSIP. So I don't think it needs to be said after Robert's intro talk, but I think you all know that according to traditional economic measures, if you went back 200 years in time, just about all of the GDP in the world was out of agriculture or very, very early beginnings of manufacturing. Manufacturing was still pretty much a local crafted enterprise, but even as little as 100 years ago, after the Industrial Revolution, most of the GDP and jobs on the planet were agriculture or manufacturing. And now today, by the way the economists measure it at least, most of the world is in fact a service economy. In fact, over 50% of the labor in the world is in service, and that happened just in the last decade. So it's this interesting thing where this residual part of the economy, as economists measured it, has grown to swallow the whole economy, and it's the part that's growing the biggest. And it's exactly as Robert said, it's things like government and education and healthcare and financial services and retail that are causing this large growth. So there's a lot of interest in how do you study service, and how do you think about service systems, and of course, how do you innovate service systems? And the theme of this conference, in fact, is about thinking about the management of engineering and technology, especially around IT, which has transformed a lot of the service sector. But even though the majority of the world, by economist measures, is wrapped up in this service sector, and the service sector continues to grow, there's still enormous issues around the service sector. There's plenty of room for improvement. So it's great to have the folks at PICMET who've been thinking a lot about management of engineering and technology, putting more focus on the service sector. And I know Dundar has told me several times that he sees this a key thing. So this ISSIP, which is a new professional association, is kind of born from this observation. If you look at professional associations around the world, a lot of the professional associations and conferences that have been focusing on product innovation are now realizing, gee, if you're just focused on product innovation, we're not even addressing the majority of the innovation opportunities for the future. So not surprising, and this lists only 16 years PICMET here. We've identified over 26 professional associations or new academic disciplines around the world who have started service science special interest groups. So American Marketing Association has a ServSig, that's one of the oldest. If you wonder, why did you put them first? Well, it turns out those folks in marketing, they focus on the customer. And so they were thinking about customer co-creation decades ago. So they're one of the first professional associations that started a ServSig well over 20 years ago. And some of the service research centers in the marketing area of business schools are over 30 years old. So yes, maybe economists were thinking about the service sector in a traditional sense even earlier, but the folks in marketing with their customer focus was one of the very first professional associations to start this area. Informs is, of course, operations research and management science. They have a service science section. Paul Maglio, my good colleague at IBM, who you heard, Robert Morris, who were at his keynote. Robert mentioned that Paul Maglio and I helped start service research at IBM. Rico was at IBM Research in Japan, helping us start service science in Japan at the time. Paul is now the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Service Science and Informs. And I'm not going to go through all of these. I'll just let you know we're up to 26. If you go out to our blog site, please come in. If you go to our website, you'll see there's just an increasing number. It's easy to understand why, right? Because if most of the innovation opportunities are over here, and most people have been thinking about innovation over here, it's easy to understand why there's been this growth of interest in service. And we, at ISSIP, you may wonder, well, why, if there's so many professional associations already studying service, isn't this just going to be the straw that broke the camel's back? You know, one more professional association in this area, maybe this is not needed. Well, it turns out, if you look at all of those other areas, they tend to approach it from a single disciplinary perspective. Operations research, marketing. And so, because we know that service innovation requires business model innovation as well as technological innovation, you heard a lot from Robert about skills and human innovation. Because we know that it's multidisciplinary, there actually is room for an umbrella professional association, and that's what ISSIP is. So, the growth in the service sector and this need to bridge these many existing professional associations in a way that adds value. And I think this is where we want your help. Right? We're here to tell you more about ISSIP, but the reason we need your help is we really want to set up ISSIP. We want to do service innovation on ISSIP itself. So we're trying to invent, co-create the 21st century professional association. A lot of the professional associations from the last century were discipline specific. We're trying to innovate a new kind of professional association that doesn't take away anything from existing professional associations, but figures out how do we co-create and add value. So we don't run our own conferences. We come to your conferences. We encourage our members to come to your conference. So we try to get this interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary mixing to occur, and you'll see it's all about the T-shaped professional who has breadth, can communicate across all those disciplines, but also has depth. But your depth can be anywhere. Your depth could be marketing, your depth could be operations research, your depth could be computer science like me, your depth could be anywhere. Any one of those other professional associations, in fact. Now, again, you've already heard this, but sometimes it helps just to see a picture. You can see this dramatic growth of the service sector in the U.S., right? In 200, it was less than 10%, and now it's continuing to grow.